Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, everybody. I would like to call the Thursday, September 4th meeting of the Committee of Whole Administration Committee to order at 6:01 PM. Going here, I do have a few public comment slips. If there's anybody else that would like to do public comment, we ask you please grab a white slip from the table over there and then bring it up front here. We'll start with roll call. Carl Johnson here. Brian Curry will be absent. Brian Schneider. Here. Dave Cordray. Here. Dave Wiltse is running late. Josh Shoemaker. Here. Tom Wahlberg. Here. Lisa Patterson is running late. Dana Logston.
Online. I'm online.
Oh, he's online? Okay. Matt Regano.
Here.
Rodney Riley.
Here.
Marion Thornberry.
Here.
So then I would ask for a motion to approve to allow Mr. Regano to join us via electronic means? Or Logston, I'm sorry. Sorry, Matt. Sorry, Matt. Sorry, Dana. Can I have that motion? By Mr. Schneider, seconded by Mr. Shoemaker. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Welcome, Mr. Logston.
Thank you.
Okay. Ask for a motion to approve the agenda as presented
So.
by Mr. Regano, seconded by Mr. Riley. Any discussion? Favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ask for a motion to approve the August 14th Committee of the Whole for Administration and the executive session meeting minutes and the August 21st, 2025 the whole Finance Committee meeting minutes. Motion by Mr. Thornberry, seconded by Mr. Regano. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Public comment. First up, I have Dana Russell. We ask that you please state your name and address for the record. You come up and then
Give it to the chair and then we go off that mic.
This is different.
Yeah.
Sure. Yep. Yep, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Dana Russell. Address is 8324 Woolrich Drive in Belvedere. And my concern is there's the solar farm that is proposed going in at the top of our subdivision. And talk of a road going through up our subdivision, a through road off of Shaw. And my concern is, how do you plan on controlling the traffic when you can't control the traffic on Shaw? Shaw is a posted road. The semis run up and down Shaw. Nobody does anything about it. Are you going to stop the traffic from running up through our subdivision and out onto East State Street when nobody does anything about running up and down Shaw? The speed limit is not enforced on Shaw. Semis run Shaw. It's posted road between State Street and Newburgh. Signs are about that big. Does anybody have an idea what you're going to do about that? Because I live in that subdivision. There's several others here that do. We walk our dogs. There's children that play in that subdivision. I don't want to get hit walking my dog. I don't want kids to get hit walking, playing. I don't want to get nailed by some idiot flying through the neighborhood. You guys are the ones that have to approve that, so I'm looking for answers. And I hear crickets.
Just to be clear, public comment is your opportunity to talk to us.
I understand that, and I'm talking to you.
It's not a response.
I understand that, but I am talking to you. I'm talking to you as a concerned citizen, a member of that subdivision, and somebody that drives up and down Shaw every day, several times a day. And I have called the sheriff and everything else about problems on Shaw. I don't want to have to be calling because of problems in my own neighborhood. because nothing gets done. And something like this going through a neighborhood, there's going to be problem upon problem upon problem. Because people are going to be cutting through there. Speed limits mean nothing to anybody. And I'm here to tell you that it's going to be a nightmare. I mean, it's all we need is a semi to come flying through a residential area like they do up and down Shaw right now. That's residential, that whole stretch. And I can just see a semi think, well, I'm just going to cut through here to get out onto State Street. That'll happen. Then what happens when they run into somebody backing out of their driveway? A kid on a bike, somebody walking a dog. You know, nothing gets done about this stuff. So my public comment is also a question. What are you going to do about it when this happens? What are you going to do about the existing problem on Shaw? It all ties together. Because the only way to get to that subdivision is off of Shaw. And one will lead to another. So that is my comment.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, I have Shannon Gibbons.
Hi, I'm Shannon Gibbons. I live at 205 Willow Drive, Belvedere. This is again in reference to the solar field that they want to put in. I live at the Willow Drive, which is one of the proposed public access roads. As one of the residents of the neighborhood, we value the peaceful and quiet nature of our community. The current proposal raises significant concerns about increased traffic volume, impacting both the safety of our children and the potential devaluation of our properties. We respectfully request that the board reconsider the proposed roadway and seek alternatives that do not negatively impact the existing residential neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen in the audience, I would ask that we don't have applause, things like that. That's not a cheering section, things like that. So please refrain from that. Boos, cheers, anything like that. Next, I have Allison Reed. Nemechek or Nemec?
Yep.
Can I move this a little bit? I'm
Absolutely, please do.
that better. Everybody here?
No.
You can use the microphone from Mr. Schneider there. Just pick that up and set it up there. Would be fine. Try not to poke an eye out.
Is this better?
Yeah, you can tilt it down and stand back or whatever you need to do.
Listen to me anyway.
However you need to.
Okay. I'm Allison Reed Nemec. I live at 250 Willow Drive in Belvedere. And I ask when this comes for a vote for the proposed solar farm just west of Shaw Road. In my mind, this is a two-pronged issue. The first being the approval of the proposed solar farm, and the second issue being the approval of the road or roads bisecting an established neighborhood to get to the solar farm. First, I would urge you to consider voting no regarding the proposed solar farm. I cannot present concrete data, and I can't give you months-long survey and analysis, but I can remind you that the most important renewable resource we have in Boone County is our farmland. It's been the backbone of the community since 1836, and it continues to sustain our county and nurture financial stability for many of our residents. It seems counterproductive to diminish prospering farmland in favor of a lease for an energy source that will most likely be obsolete before the end of the proposed lease. Second, I would urge you to vote no to the approval of any road or roads that will go through our neighborhood to accommodate the proposed solar farm. My husband and I have lived at 250 Willow Drive, the second house east of the proposed solar farm, for over 23 years. We purchased this home due to its location in an established neighborhood consisting of 3 cul-de-sac roads connected by 1 interior road. Quote, this home is located on a quiet cul-de-sac street, end quote. It's what house sale listings always highlight first, isn't it? In 23 years, our neighborhood has experienced few, if any, auto collisions, speeding vehicles, or vehicular noise pollution. We know residents' vehicles, and we respect each other's safety. Children and adults enjoy their yards, take walks, bike, or jog without fear of being struck by a driver cutting through the neighborhood to save a few minutes to work, or speeding through a shortcut to make it home in time for curfew. The current roads are in no condition to handle the stress and weight of large trucks and increased traffic flow. There are no sidewalks, no streetlights, no traffic control signs, with the exception of the 2 neighborhood exits onto Shaw Road. In addition, 2 of the 3 cul-de-sacs terminate at the top of a hill. If a coasting bicycle can exceed 20 miles per hour, what speeds do you think a non-resident or unfamiliar driver could reach and would reach? Non-neighborhood residents may claim a road as a positive addition, but how many of the neighborhood's residents have requested an additional road in the past 55 years? When the extension of the cul-de-sac on Regina Lane, 2 streets to the south of our neighborhood, opened, the home located at 475 Regina had more than 5 auto collisions in their front yard due to the traffic coming through the neighborhood, not turning into the neighborhood. One was so severe that the occupant had to be extricated from their vehicle. Would your conscience let you rest if similar accidents happened on a road that you approved? I appeal to you to vote no when the time comes for both the solar field and for any other road. But if you feel you cannot vote, or you cannot vote no on the solar farm, please vote no for any and all roads that would feed or connect into our neighborhood, because the safety of our residents is in your hands. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And with it,
Now I have David Fenton.
Hi, I'm David Fenton. I live at 120 East Chapel Street in Rockton, Illinois, and I am the owner of the farm that's being discussed. And I'm very supportive of the neighbors' comments here. At the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting, I brought up immediately in my discussion that I had concern about the road. It was a little bit of a surprise to me. We have pledged that we will provide an easement to, I think it ultimately gets granted to Boone County, so that the construction can be, equipment can run up and down the easement. And then that becomes Boone County property. As kind of a background on our family, we've owned that land for 186 years. I'm a 7th generation farmer of that property, grew up farming that property. And our reason for reaching out and understanding solar farms and bringing that opportunity ultimately to the Boone County Board is that it's a way of preserving our land. At the zoning board meeting, the biggest threat to our property that came out of it was that there was a lot of commercial interests. And the people that spoke at the zoning board meeting were actually commercial interests saying that they wanted to use our property for different purposes. To preserve that as farmland, my family has deeply discussed the advantages of solar farm, the pollinator value of having within the panels, having pollinator land, and basically putting that land to rest for 40 years and letting my children determine what the ultimate fate of the land is 40 years from now. My kids were at the last meeting. They had homework tonight, so they're not here tonight. But I want to assure everybody that we are long-term farmers, have been your neighbors for as long as Boone County has existed. And we are very concerned about the road discussion similarly. Ultimately, that comes down to how Boone County wants to handle that. My family has pledged that we will not sell our land, and we made an exception for the easement that's needed for this project. And ultimately, we'll have to leave that in the hands of Boone County, but we're not in any rush to see a road on that property either. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else for public comment? Yes, sir. I ask that you please fill out a form and then bring that up here after.
Right up there.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Thank you. So I have Mr. Hindy. Steve Hindy.
Steve Hindy, 43W799 Oak Leaf Drive in Elburn. This Friday and Saturday, the Big Hat Rodeo Company will be at the Boone County Fairgrounds. It is likely that Shark will not be there, and I want to explain why. Shark investigators attended a Big Hat Rodeo performance in Kane County last June 14th and attended another performance in Kendall County on July 6th. Each animal was run just once, not 15, 20 times or more. There were no electric prods and no animals were beaten. There wasn't a single injury, but if there had been, there would have been care from an Illinois licensed veterinarian. The Kendall County performance happened on a very hot day and shade was put up for the animals. There was a time when this was not the case. A couple decades ago, we chased Big Hat all across northern Illinois and exposed them over and over, including at the Boone County Fair for a variety of reasons. Now, Big Hat does things differently. Shark never has and never will support rodeo because it's hard on animals. Animals are harassed and stressed. They are sometimes injured and sometimes killed. But there is no comparing rodeos to steer tailing. Last Sunday, we were at a steer tailing event in Ogle County. 3 steers were degloved. Another suffered a severe head injury, and there was a number of injured legs. Someone was treating some of the injuries, but that individual does not appear to possess an Illinois veterinary license, which makes his care illegal. Compare the Big Hat report with Ogle County. That's why we continue to pursue steer tailing. It's the abuse, regardless of who's committing it. I want to acknowledge Board Member Marion Thornberry's unwavering support for the humane treatment of animals. And thank you, Sheriff Scott Young, for stepping up and enforcing the law in Boone County. These individuals have made Boone County a better place for both animals and people. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Seeing none, would like to state for the record that Board Member Lisa Patterson arrived at 6:09 PM and Board Member Dave Wiltsey arrived at 6:10 PM. Welcome to both of you. Mr. Curry could not be here. He got called away for work, so I'm going to handle his duties this evening. We have some monthly presentations. No, we do not. So we've got new business. I would ask for a motion to approve the claims in the amount of $175,533.23 with the understanding that Carl Johnson abstains from voting on all claims presented by William Charles, Northern Illinois Service Company, Corn, Maine, all claims submitted by the Boone County Highway Department, all claims submitted by any county department regarding sewage, storm, water, construction, and excavation.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Riley, seconded by Mr. Wiltsey. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call. Paul Johnson, aye. Brian Schneider,
Yes.
Dave Cordray,
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey,
Aye.
Josh Shoemaker,
Yes.
Tom Wahlberg,
Aye.
Lisa Patterson,
Yes.
Dana Logston,
Aye.
Matt Regano,
Aye.
Rodney Riley,
Aye.
Marion Thornberry.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. We go on to budget presentations. Start with the Health Department.
Good evening, maybe.
Thank you.
Right, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Great. Amanda Mail with the Boone County Health Department. Happy to kick off the series of departmental budget presentations. Our proposed FY 2026 budget is balanced and we're not asking for any tax levy increases. Does anyone have any questions? I'm just kidding. I do have a presentation, but it is really that simple this year. It's actually a pretty short budget. I'm just going to run through a few things. So just as a reminder, I know that the health department functions a little bit differently than some of the other county departments. So we put our budget together with 4 major components. So our fees for different services, whether it be environmental or clinical, our grants, which make up a huge portion of the service delivery that we provide, interest on accounts that we work with the treasurer's office on, and then our two tax levies. And those are the four ways in which we deal with money coming in and out of our department. And our process starts in July every year. The Board of Health Finance Committee meets. They make a recommendation to the full Board of Health in August. Then we submit the budget to county admin. I come and I present here in September or October, and then our budget gets absorbed into the larger county budget that you all vote on towards the end of the county fiscal year. So just a reminder kind of how it's structured. And then it's also important to know that it's hard to look at our budget as a snapshot at any given point in time because it fluctuates pretty regularly. So just to point out a couple of things that might be helpful whether you're looking at the budget tonight or at any point during the fiscal year, we have a lot of seasonal fluctuations. So for example, when restaurant permits are due, there's a huge influx of revenue for that line item. And then that is spent down throughout the year because the inspectors are out doing those inspections, right? We may make a large vaccine purchase around this time of year to gear up for flu season, and then that would bite a chunk out. There are different periods of time when we're working with the treasurer's office and county admin to make transfers for our employees for health insurance, FICA and IMRF. And those are transfers that go back and forth between the health department, Board of Health budget and the treasurer's office. And those are done in lump chunks, right? And those are large expenses because we're talking about health insurance for our staff and benefits. So those are some things to keep in mind. Also, at any given time, we may have state and federal grants that we're waiting on reimbursement for. Those grants reimburse monthly, sometimes quarterly, sometimes if we're not so lucky, twice a year. And at any given time, we need to maintain approximately $350,000 to $500,000 to cover those expenditures until such time as the state and federal government reimburses us for those programs and services. And that includes, those are grants that have been signed, sealed, delivered. The ink is dry. We know that we're assured the money, but we have to provide the services and then request reimbursement after the fact. We also manage at any given time 4 or 5 fiscal years. So state, federal, local, obviously, and then the state and the federal government, sometimes in their infinite wisdom, award us a grant that doesn't align with any of the fiscal years. And so we're on a random fiscal year that's been created for that particular initiative or grant. So just some things to keep in mind when you're looking at our budget at any given time. I believe on board docs, there is a revenues and expenditures handout that match the presentation. Along the left-hand side, they're marked and coded with numbers, obviously. So just to hit a few highlights, and then I'm happy to take any questions. So we'll start with revenues. You can take a look at some of our decreases. So miscellaneous health fund is down 70%. That's a line item for grants that we didn't expect to get that then we might have been awarded. This year, we've done a pretty good job. We have quite a few grants that are in like year 2 or 3, and we don't have a whole lot of first year new initiative grants. So that line item is down, and anything that we were expecting to get for a carryover or a subsequent year would be in a different line item. Other clinical services is down 38%. That's variable depending on client caseload and what particular services may be allowable or non-allowable through Medicaid or Medicare, for example, for different services we might be providing to children, families and seniors in our community. Our basic health grant is down 40%. The state health department did cut the funding in that area, so we applied for some other grants to kind of make up the difference. Some increases in client fees using line item. It looks like it's up a crazy amount, 675%. That's actually a dump line item that we use in our hearing and vision program because there isn't another good spot to put it in our budget. So we had a couple of years where we weren't doing hearing and vision because we didn't have somebody train. The training processes arduous. You have to be certified. Machines have to be calibrated. We're back in the private and parochial schools doing those, and just a couple $1,000s will bump that whole line item up to what appears to be a very large amount. But it's a small amount that we get reimbursed. Families pay a nominal fee to cover the cost of the services. And then state and federal grants are up 34%. We have several continuing grants. We have a couple grants that we've been awarded larger amounts for year 2 or year 3. And our overall proposed revenues are up 12%. So that's the revenue section. And then we can look at expenditures. Okay, yep, perfect. So the proposed cost of living increase the Board of Health approved was 3% across the board for staff. Staff wages fluctuate depending on people's certifications and what level they come in with the federal GS scale that we use to classify their starting wage, whether they're receiving a differential or not for being bilingual in Spanish and English. So that's pretty common that we see plus or minus 10% in a normal year, a non-pandemic year. Office supplies, telephone, travel are variable depending on what grants we're running and what supplies and things we may need. Sometimes we have staff that need a cell phone or a laptop or a computer. There may be certain office supplies that we're required to purchase depending on what type of program it is and if things are being handed out to the public or to clients. Other professional services is up 15%, which I'm going to explain in a minute. And dues across the board for all the different professional associations that we subscribe to have increased in the last couple of fiscal years. So just to break the other professional services line item down a little bit more, because this one drills down pretty deep. It's important for you all to kind of understand what goes into that line item. So this is where a lot of our subcontracts for our health priority grants, so specifically the core program, our behavioral health program, which many of you are familiar with. We have several subcontracts with Rosecrans Remedies and the city of Belvedere. So those subcontracts are housed within this line item. Our medical director stipend is housed in this line. And then if you look at the remainder for services, the 23,141 at the very bottom, those are going to be things like our electronic medical records system, our credit card processing fees, other miscellaneous professional services, like if our alarm system needs to be serviced, if our generator is being serviced. So that's what goes into other professional services. And one more slide, still under budget expenditures, we have a new exciting line item this year for leased and rental property. As you all have been made aware, the Board of Health did vote to pitch in and assist with the cost of renting the space over at Midland States Bank. And so we have some other expenses related to renting that space, and this is where that's accounted for now in this new line item. Equipment decreased 4%, not anything terribly noticeable. Our outreach and advertising is up 50%. A couple of our outreach-based grants are requiring specific types of outreach, like radio advertising or certain marketing materials that we might be putting out in the shopper at some of our fairs, health fairs that we go to. So that's up, and the majority of that, the overwhelming majority of that is covered by grants and also required by grants. FICA and IRMF is a little bit variable every year. Those aren't untypical percentages. And then I don't think it comes as a surprise to anybody here that health insurance increased quite a bit. I know that's been discussed at the county board level. It's not unique to the health department staff. We're feeling that across the board in all county departments. That's what I've got, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for the health department? Mr. Wiltsey.
Thank you. The advertisement with the radio and so forth, that seems to be a waning venue so how much is that, and what are the numbers on people that listen to those programs?
Yeah, that's a good question. A lot of the radio advertising we've been doing is particularly related to some of our grants where we're doing targeted outreach within the Hispanic population. Actually, within that population, radio advertising is known to be one of the most effective methods of communication. So we work with a regional radio station called La Bamba that covers a good portion of Northern Illinois. And we do quite a bit of radio advertising with them. They will run a 2-week ad for us for about $1,500 to $2,000, depending on what the advertisement is. And that's actually written into the grants. And a lot of our grants are funding us to do outreach to different vulnerable segments of our population, whether it be racial, ethnic minorities, low income folks, seniors, and our aging population. So in particular with the radio advertising, it's targeted with the Hispanic outreach that we do.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Other questions? Mr. Walker.
So Amanda, on the staff wages, are you proposing any additional staff members that make this number higher?
No, not in this budget. That being said, 6 months from now, we could be awarded a grant that's asking us to increase staffing in certain areas. But as it stands right now, with our best guess in August as to what it's September until next November, which is like a moving target all the time. We don't have any grants in the pipeline that we're working on that are proposing any additional staff at this time.
Mr. Wellman.
And then two more questions. So, and I apologize if I missed that in your explanation earlier, but the increase in the travel, and then if you could speak to that a little bit, and then the dues increase. So, I'll let you answer that.
So travel is required for certain programs and services, and then some of our grant activities. So some examples would be our environmental services when we're out in the field doing well and septic inspections, when we're doing restaurant inspections. It can also be for our clinical staff. Some of our clinical programs are now requiring certain home visits or certain outreach events. Also, please remember that we have our mobile unit and we're in our 3rd year of that, and there's fuel expenditures and travel expenditures related to that. We have 2 grants in particular that require travel to specific federal conferences, and that's covered by the grant, but it has to go into a line item. And so it goes there. And then I am often asked to speak at the state and national level for certain activities that we're doing. 95% of the time that's reimbursed to us, but we have to have a line item to put it in. And so it goes in that line item.
And then the second part was the dues increase. Did you mention that?
Yeah, we belong to a handful of professional public health associations at the state and national level. So the Illinois Public Health Nurses Association, the Association of Administrators, the Public Health Advocacy Association, the National Association of County and City Health Officials. And we pay yearly dues to those organizations. We work with them on.
Gone up that much?
I'm sorry?
The question was, have they gone up that much, or are we doing more?
Well, both. We are doing more, but across the board, most professional associations have raised their in this field in particular. I can't speak to other government fields, but definitely in public health.
Further questions? I do have a question, just getting back to the department staff wages. You said that you're not adding any people, and that it's a 3% increase, but we've got a 9% increase in salary staff wages.
Yeah, so we account for the fact that depending on what program and service we're offering. So right now we have a couple of positions that we're hiring for. So we would expect that there would be potential fluctuation there for the types of staff that apply for the position. So if somebody applies and they have a certain level of experience, they're going to come in at a higher rate than somebody who was in the position previously. So generally speaking, that line item is proposed to fluctuate depending on who we predict may be in that position and what salary range they may be at. That's a line item that changes pretty regularly if there's staff turnover or if we have changes in particular program areas.
Yep. Makes sense. Any further questions for the health department at this point? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, I have GIS. There she is. Always remember, without GIS, we can't find our way home.
Absolutely. And that's if I like you, I might give you the wrong directions. I'm Tammy Cox from the GIS department. My FY 2026 hasn't really changed much. It's kind of the same across the board. I think the only thing you guys might see is, if you remember last year, we did the Eagle View aerials, and GIS is supposed to, for the next, I think this is second year of our 6-year with our agreement with them. So that's why I have that line item down there on the other services, other professional services. But I think other than that, nothing has really changed across the board on this. So I don't know if you have any questions.
Questions for GIS? You've got it easy tonight, Tim.
Thanks,
Thank you. Next up, Animal Services. There's Rick. I didn't see him in the back there. He was trying to hide.
Evening. My budget's a lot like Tammy's. There's not a lot of changes from last year. Couple of things of note. We have contract negotiations coming up. We left employee wages intact where they were for last year, but we do expect them to change. We just don't know what direction that's going to go at this point.
Excuse me, Rick, if I could just get you to move that microphone maybe a little closer to you, so I'm sure people in the audience can't really hear what you're saying.
So better.
A little bit, I think, yeah.
Another thing is if you look through the data there's a note about a $25,000 donation that was made. This person that donated the money has earmarked, or I guess directed that money be spent on facility improvements. So that is really like the only type of project that we have planned next year. Be spending that donation that the lady made. I'm not asking for any other projects or anything at this time.
Questions for Animal Services? Mr. Welber.
Rick, do you have any projects in mind to date that you're thinking about?
The lady would really like to see us plant more trees on the property. And to be honest with you, we have several trees there that are dying or are already dead. So that's kind of the direction that we're thinking. And they can get kind of expensive, so.
Highlight.
Ms. Tobin?
Just to highlight is out of the operation account, which is Fund 12, you will see a new revenue line item for municipal services. Our intent is to have a contract or an agreement in place with all the municipalities regarding those services that go above and beyond what is statutorily required. So as you know, we met with all of them. The State's Attorney's Office is working on that agreement. So our plan is to have that in place by the start of our new fiscal year. It's hard to know right now how much it's going to bring in. We budgeted 10,000 and we'll see what happens.
Other questions for Animal Services? Mr. Riley?
How's the new van?
It's good. We're currently working on getting it outfitted.
Sure.
I have an appointment coming up next week for decals on it, and we'll get lights and stuff installed after that.
Good. All right. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thanks, Rick.
Good night.
Finally, we have Mr. Crone with Highway.
So as we recall, we've got three primary levy funds at the Highway Department. We don't operate under the general fund. So we operate under Highway Fund, the Bridge Fund, and the Matching Fund. So the Highway Fund is our operational fund. The Bridge Fund obviously is for bridges. Bridge Fund is shared between the county and the townships. It serves bridges, grade separations, culverts, ditches, anything that's associated with water conveyance or grade separation, which is a difference in elevation. And then Matching Fund is used to match our grants that we receive. So starting again and we'd also have the motor fuel tax fund that is not a levy fund, but a user fee at the pump, the motor fuel tax fund. So starting at the highway fund, this year, we do have a proposed levy increase of 2.78%. That is intended to try to keep up with inflation. And again, this is our operational fund. The highway fund's operational. So out of this fund is where we get our highway maintainers, the guys that drive the snowplow trucks and fill potholes. That's where their salaries come from. Our equipment also comes out of this, fuel comes out of this, salt comes out of this. There's, our day-to-day operations, mowing and all the other maintenance operations that occur come out of this fund. So this is our primary highway fund. This fund, as well as the bridge fund, have struggled in the past, 10, 15 years ago with the general fund levy increasing. This one, because of PTEL, this levy rate decreased for the matching in the bridge, and we're trying to, in the recent past, we've tried to raise it up, and we have been successful at doing that. And now we're looking to try to keep it balanced with inflation if possible. The bridge fund is the next fund, and that one, like I mentioned, that one we are looking for a 3.13% increase in that fund. This fund is really susceptible to a lot of grants, and when grants get pushed off a year, that obviously impacts our expenses, and we've seen that in this fund. We do have a lot of bridges coming up. I think I've kind of touted that for a decade now, that we are behind on bridges. We're no longer behind on design of bridges. We're just need to get our designs constructed, which we do have plans in the next 5 years. We're going to be really hitting it hard with bridge construction. So we do have, like I say, we do have a levy increase of just over 3%, just to try to maintain. We've been very successful at getting grants to support our bridge construction, and as well as the motor fuel tax increase helps this fund indirectly, because of motor fuel tax is a large component of our township bridge replacement program. So this bridge fund, we will always want to keep in mind that this bridge fund is shared between the county system and the township system. So, and then the next fund is the matching fund. This one we're holding steady at the levy, so we will be falling behind a little bit on any kind of inflationary rates, but that's fine. So we're not asking for any increases in absolute property taxing revenue for this fund. We've been pretty fortunate to get by with some pretty high low contribution grants. So our ability to make our dollar go a little bit further is shown through on this grant, or on this levy. So I'm not proposing any absolute dollar changes in that. In fact, actually, the levy would then slightly decrease depending on how our total levy goes. The final fund is the motor fuel tax fund. No real changes to that. This is where this fund is what we use to do our road resurfacing projects. Is primarily out of this. We do pay for some culverts out of this, but primarily it's the road resurfacing. And if you recall, we were passing some grants to try to help next year's road resurfacing project, which will be Poplar Grove Road north of the village, to widen that road out to accommodate other users, farm implements, and bicyclists and that sort of thing, by having a paved shoulder. So all in all of our levies totaled up, our budget is a 0.7% decrease that I'm proposing for this coming year. So,
Questions for highway? Go ahead, Mr. Walber.
I just want to thank you, Justin, for this is a great job, and appreciate this. Appreciate all your efforts and what you do with all the extra grants and writing that you do. This is the result of your hard work. So appreciate that.
Mr. Chairman.
Other questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Just a comment. I'm sorry, Dana?
Yeah. Yes, I'd like to double that comment from Mr. Wahlberg. And I'd also like to thank you for my new favorite phrase, steady at the levy.
Oh, I missed it.
There we go. I do have just a comment, I guess. Justin alluded to this a little bit, that over the years, the highway funds really took a beating when we were going through the recession and when we needed to find ways to fund government. So it's been my goal since that time to try and work hard to bring those levies back up to where they need to be. So I guess that would be my challenge to this board, is to let's bump that bridge up a little bit. And if we can bump the highway fund up a little bit also, or if Justin thinks we need to bump the bridge a little more instead of the highway, I'm in favor of that. Obviously, as we get into the budgets, those of you that are new on the board will learn that we can't just, we have I'm going to say a limit to what we can do, not just because of the dollars that we receive. That is one way, but you can't raise one levy and keep all the others the same. When you raise one, something has to come down. So we have to figure that balancing act. If you think of a number of 10% and all these levies equal 10%, you can't raise Justin's to 9.5 and keep all the others at 2 each. So if each one all has 2% and there's 5 levies, then if one goes to 2.5, another one has to go to 1.5, so that you have that equal. It's called tax caps. So you have to live within that. That's a real simplified way to look at the budget and the levies, but it's things that we have to look at and just be cognizant of. But I'm in favor of doing what we can to get those levies up to where they should be historically. So anybody else? Thanks, Justin. Have a good night. All right. Next up, I would ask for a motion to approve MA-11-02593XX Beaver Valley Road, A1 to A2. By Mr. Shoemaker, seconded by Mr. Schneider. Staff report.
Yes, thank you. This application for a zoning change from A1 to A2 is located in unincorporated Belvedere Township. The applicant and owner, Jason Wiggett, is seeking a zoning change for a 4.43 acre parcel. The applicant is submitting that the properties consists of barriers to farming, and therefore is proposing a zoning change. The information that they've submitted is the parcel is eligible for rezoning, describes the site and maintains that the property is barrier due to the existence of the physical trees and the lot size. The zoning board of appeals found that the proposal meets the requirements of the zoning code and accepted the findings of fact as presented with a vote of 5-0 in favor. The regional planning commission heard the application and reviewed as the submittal for conformance with the county comprehensive plan. The commission made a recommendation for consistency with the plan with a vote of 4-0 in favor of the map amendment. Staff request was reviewed by building, zoning, health department, soil and water and county, Boone County Conservation District, as well as the City of Belvedere Public Works. There were no objections. The Boone County Soil and Water Conservation District made the following opinion as a favorable opinion of the zoning change due to the substantial tree coverage on the parcel. Staff has recommended the zoning change, subject to all the findings that were adopted by zoning board of appeals. In conclusion, the map amendment is considered meeting the standards for rezoning. The applicant is here.
Questions from the board for staff? Dana, any questions online?
No, sir.
The applicant like to make a statement? Sure.
No, I really don't have a statement to make. I think it's been made. It's pretty straightforward conversion from A1 to A2.
Okay. Does anybody have questions for the applicant? If I could get you to come up here and state your name and address for the record. And
I'm Jason Wiggett. I live at 8411 Shaw Road, and the property we're talking about is on Beaver Valley Road.
Mr. Welborn.
Mr. Wiggett, so I was noticing this diagram you have on here. This is your proposal or your plan for developing this property For sale, or is this for home personal use?
For a personal home, and that would just be, if I did decide to build on it, just showing where a septic area would go and an outbuilding and a home out in the front there where it's already, there's about an acre out front that's already pretty much grass, and then the wooded area I would just leave as is.
So you are intending to construct a home on this property?
Yes, that's the primary purpose of converting to the A2, yes.
Okay, thank you. Understand.
Other questions? Is this property you currently own?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else? See none, thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, any further comments or questions from the board? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign? That motion carries. Next up, I'd ask for a motion to approve special use permit SUP -08 -20251 XX US Route 20. Motion by Mr. Cordray, seconded by Mr. Wahlberg. Staff report.
Yes, and if you just scroll past that, and they have the pictures of this special use.
Oh, it's all together.
Yeah, I just.
Got mixed together.
What's that?
They got mixed together a little bit.
Well, I didn't post it. I posted them both on the same. So yes, this application is for the location of one XX US 20 for a special use permit for a solar energy development, 1 megawatt or greater. The property is located in unincorporated Belvedere Township on the south side of US 20 at the border of Winnebago and Boone counties. Subject property is approximately 37 acres in size with a solar area proposed at 15.9 acres. The applicant is seeking a special use permit for the solar development. The proposed project is 1.6 megawatt AC ground mounted solar. The racking system is proposed less than max height of 20 feet. With modules and a single access tracker system with 16 inverters, 1 transformer, and 1 grid interconnection. Construction, once initiated, is expected to take 9 to 12 months. The development is subject to the conditions of approval with a growth pattern that will support the connection to the future development to the west. Residential property to the east and south of the parcel is anticipated to continue and connect to through the subject property. As such, the proposed solar is considered a development of the parcel, and due to the needed connection, a tentative and final plat is required as a recommended condition by staff of the special use permit. The platting will result in dedication of the connection of the right of way prior to building. The zoning board of appeals found that the proposal meets the requirement of the zoning code and reviewed the hearings and factors of findings. They adopted their own findings and factors, which have been included as part of the board docs. So the board of 5-0 and adopted the special use permit subject to 18 conditions by the zoning board of appeals. They removed condition number 1 as drafted by staff, which indicates the property would be required to have an easement as opposed to the planning and dedication and construction of a roadway. Public hearing on the meeting, there were several. Obviously, the applicant proposed and presented with additional information on the existing project, the access road, construction, landscaping, decommissioning, job creation, and drain tile protection. Several items were submitted as part of the record. The zoning board of appeals asked the applicant a couple of questions with regards to funding, as well as the connectivity. The applicant indicated the connection. The applicant indicated that they have a list of items that would need to be done as it relates to access to US Route 20 and IDOT permitting. Public testimony was given by several adjacent property owners. Tim Huff of Moore Hill Court asked about the public access. Lori Carr of Willow Drive also asked whether the road would be located right behind their home and had concerns with the access. Celia Fenton asked the applicant who was in attendance. There was an open house that the applicant referenced and discussed. There were a few folks, maybe 3 that attended their public open house. Essentially, the concerns were with the right of way that was proposed as part of the application. There was some testimony by Ms. Lopez Bettis, who represented the convention in opposition to the project, as well as Jim Clayson, the administrator of Village of Cherry Valley. They had concerns with the project, indicating that the area shown as commercial to the north and west of the site. There's an existing sewer main trunk, and they're asking that solar not be placed next to residential. We'll discuss the application specifically with concern to the right of way that was recommended by staff. And again, voted with the 18 conditions and subject to their findings. Essentially, the board ultimately discussed the findings and amended them to reflect no preliminary and final planning or construction of the road as part of the project. Replacing the provision that staff had recommended with conveyance of the easement. In conclusion, the zoning board of appeals found that the special use meets the requirements of the zoning code, subject to their findings as drafted, as well as the conditions that they amended.
Questions for staff? Mr. Thornberry.
It says in here that Winnebago and Cherry Valley are both wanting to keep that open for commercial development at a later date. Seeing as how that's not in either one of them's property, for a better word, wouldn't they have to go to try to annex that property into Winnebago or Cherry Valley in order to be able to do that commercial?
What I noted was that on the Winnebago side, that the proposed future land designation is commercial. Just that referencing their plan, if you look on, well, that's the zoning, if you scroll up a little bit more, Becky. It's just indicating that they've planned it as commercial. So when I identify a parcel, whether it's, Boone County or Winnebago, I like to show the future land use surrounding the parcel. And this particular parcel happens to be at the county line. So I indicated the future planning area on that side of the property as well.
The reason I asked that question is there was some comment about traffic. If we don't vote this in, if we vote this down and they bring in the commercial, they're gonna have more traffic from that commercial than they're gonna have from this wind farm or solar farm.
Further questions from the board or staff? Ms. Patterson.
I'm sorry, the applicant is here too.
Yeah, I saw him there. So want to get our questions for you first and then we'll bring them up. Go ahead, Ms.
So
Patterson.
clarify, the road that was originally proposed in what the ZBA voted on was completely taken out, correct?
The findings that was taken out as far as the platting and construction of the roadway. So essentially, yes.
So no traffic, like that was the complaint. So that, to Marion's point, there isn't going to be additional traffic because the road that was going to be coming through there is no longer on the plan.
Right.
In the plan.
Well, so there's staff recommendations, which I read the staff report, and then there were the ZBA recommendations, and the ZBA recommendations reflect what you're
taking the road out. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Mr. Riley.
I didn't get a chance to ask any of them that were there that night. I understand their concern that but none of it is in Winnebago County. It's on Boone and Winnebago County. It's on our side, right?
Anything that is proposed is at that parcel, correct?
Okay.
Any conditions that are applicable have to do with the particular parcel exclusively.
Okay, so they wouldn't, what am I trying to ask here? What they do on the other side of that, on their side of the property or their side of the county line is, I don't know, does the applicant own on the Winnebago County line too? Okay, so they would have to deal with you on that. Okay. All right. I think that got my question answered. I understand why they were here because I understand why Cherry Valley was here because that's their area, but we can't control what they do. They can't control what we do. I guess nothing to say they can't do whatever they want to do on their side of it after it's all finished, correct? I mean, if that property owner is willing to do that.
Right. The reason why I pointed out as a staff member, as regionally planning wise, it's important to reflect connectivity
Yep.
regardless of what boundaries are existing geographically.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Thornberry.
Okay, they're still gonna have to have access to their farm, the solar farm. How are they gonna get to that?
So Becky, I think I also included in yes, that one right there. With the original proposal, so they will be required to still have access from US Route 20, which will require an IDOT permit regardless of, if this was approved. And that particular access is as shown, Becky's showing it up there. Typically the general solar accesses, as you've seen in most of the solar developments that have been constructed, are the gravel roadway. And so that's what would be proposed if that was what was approved without the staff recommended connectivity.
Mr. Wahlberg.
Chairman, I would like to, and I'm okay with whatever order you want to do this with, but if the applicant speaks in that, I would like to give the county engineer an opportunity to kind of speak this way to the road since he's got a lot of knowledge on that.
Okay.
When that comes time.
Sure, absolutely. Anyone else with questions for staff? Okay. The applicant like to say some words or give a presentation or the applicant's representative?
I do have your PowerPoint on there. I put it on board docs. Yeah, that's it.
If you would please state your name and address for the record.
Sure. My name is Gabriel.
I'll need you to bend that down and really talk into it just so they can all hear you and we can all hear you.
Sure. My name is it on here? My name is Gabriel Ariza. I live at 1206 Tyrell Avenue in Park Ridge, Illinois. Good evening, committee members, staff, and members of the public. My name is Gabriel Ariza. I'm the development manager for Reactivate and responsible for the coordination efforts of this special use application. I'll give a little bit of company background and quickly highlight some of the distinguishing factors about the proposed project. About our company, Reactivate is a community solar company. It's based in Illinois, and it's focused on developing, owning, and operating renewable energy solutions while at the same time providing quality of life improvements in the communities that it serves. We do not sell our projects to third party. Reactivate was founded in 2022 by Invenergy at Lafayette Square on a vision to create a positive impact on working class communities across the United States. And it's achieved this in a number of ways through workforce training, hiring locally, paying local taxes, and supporting local community initiatives. Reactivate has multiple projects in Illinois with one close by here in Rockford. Reactivate's parent company, Invenergy, is a large-scale global developer. So they do natural gas, solar, wind, storage, clean water, hydrogen, and transmission. Invenergy has been in operation for over 20 years and has developed over 30 gigawatts of large-scale energy based here in Illinois as well. Next page, please. So Reactivate is seeking approval of the setting application to allow for a 1.6 megawatt ground mount distributed generation solar farm located directly south of US 20, known as East State Street, about 300 feet from Shaw Road. The site is on a 37 The site is proposed a single 37-acre parcel. The actual footprint of the solar farm is 16 acres. The 1.6 megawatt system is potentially enough to power about 1,000 homes. Next, thank you. So some of the project features and benefits that I believe align with the factors used for application consideration will be providing added needed energy to the grid. The Boone County Soil and Water Conservation District conducted a natural resource inventory with a favorable opinion of the proposed land use. The LE score was 78.6 under the threshold of the factors used. The site has been reviewed by Fish and Wildlife and the Illinois Department of Natural Resources with no findings of any material impacts on the local ecology. And there's going to be numerous additional environmental type studies performed before we get to construction. There's no lighting required for the project operation, so there'll be no light pollution. There'll be zero emissions, no odors coming from the facility. An official noise study has been completed exceeding the Illinois Pollution Control Board standard. There would be minimal traffic at the site during the construction period, which is as Jessica, is around 12 months. We've averaged about 20 deliveries with only normal sized trucks used. And there will be native seed mix used with continuous vegetation management. And we'll work with the Boone County Conservation on an approved plan for that vegetation. And there'll be continuous real-time monitoring in-house during the operation of the facility. An emergency response plan will be in place with the local fire department. I've already reached out to the Belvedere Fire Department as well as Rockford. A decommissioning plan has already been drafted and shared with the staff. A detailed agricultural impact mitigation agreement has already been signed with the Department of Agriculture for drain tile mitigation, financial assurances, and removal of the facility at the end of the project life cycle, bringing the property back to its pre-solar farm state. Local community workforce benefits are expected as part of Reactivate's mission. Reactivate intends on hiring local workforce whenever possible. So talking about laborers, electricians, civil workers, and machine operators. And I've already made contact with the local Brotherhood of Electrical Workers in Rockford. And local subscription services are planned for local residents for discount energy costs. And as mentioned, an open house community meeting was held on August 14th, and we plan on holding more to be able to answer any questions and concerns about the project. As mentioned again by the staff, Reactivate has agreed, along with the landowner, the donation of an easement to satisfy any future commercial or residential growth in that corridor, as was discussed in last week's ZBA meeting. That's just kind of a photo of where that's west facing from Willow. And then the other photo is from the south from State behind those trees. So it's unlikely it would be seen from State. And that's a photo of the system that we have on top of the sports factory and in Rockford. It's a 0.5 megawatt. It's been up and running for over a year now. Next one, that's a picture of what the project would likely look similar to. It would be smaller than that one. That one's a bit larger. And it's just a photo of how it looks like with the pollinators. And these guys help us out with vegetation management. They're optional. If the community and the county would like to see them help out with vegetation management, we have a relationship with United Agrivoltaics. It's an association of farmers. So with that, we just want to let you all know that we affirm our intention to comply with all the rules and regulations as indicated in the ordinance. Community relations is real important to our company. We've heard everyone talking about the road, and that's something that we totally understand. And the access road that we originally created does not connect to Shaw or any of the stubs. It is quite some distance away from the residents. So we do not anticipate, any additional traffic in your community as the way it was originally designed. So, and with that, just thank you for the presentation, and I'm available to answer any questions.
Questions for the applicant? Mr. Riley.
I've got a couple here that I want to ask you about here. So it's in your presentation here. Tax revenue for the community. Where's that? First off, how do you calculate that? And number two, where does that revenue come from? And then once I get that, I got a follow-up question.
Sure.
Go ahead.
The actual calculation is formulaic. It's based off the state rules on how to do it based on the size of the project. So by megawatts. It's a calculation that I presume it was done by the Illinois Department of Revenue. We've had an accounting firm put together the actual formula, and the number gets spit out, based on the size and time.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Riley.
And then, it's no secret that there's lots of federal funding for these projects. So with that being said, I don't know if that's part of where I know you said the Illinois Department of Revenue would decide, but as far as federal funding and getting money back from the feds, how will that work? Because it's no secret that is potentially going away in the future. So, maybe that's not a question for you, but it's
I understand
that I have, and
sure.
What happens if that funding goes away?
Yes. And I guess alongside with that is, do you have the ability to pay, fund the project and keep it running? We did submit an affidavit of our ability to pay and finance the project. So that's part of the testimony. And as far as like the federal tax credits, we do have a path forward to secure those. Illinois has Illinois Shine, Illinois Solar for All, which is a separate program from the federal program. We meet all the requirements for those. So we plan on securing those shortly after the approval. Irrespective of those two, that would, if we were to lose those, it would not prevent us from moving forward with the project. It might slow it down, but it wouldn't stop it.
All right, thank you.
Further questions for the applicant? I do have a question for the landowner. He wanted to come up real quick.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was stated earlier that you do own the property on the Winnebago side of the line also.
We own a total of 60 acres. It all has been contiguous in my life, that it's a 60-acre farm. 36 acres is in Boone County, but we treat it as one piece of property. So the solar farm is about 25% of where our total farm is there.
Okay, and are you intending to go to Winnebago and seek a solar farm on that?
No, at this point, first of all, we're farmers. We approach it like farming. We're putting a piece of something on here and we're going to see how it works. I mean, just in realistic standards. I had my children at the last meeting so that they could understand how this process works. Plus, they're the people that got to be here 40 years from now managing it. So from our standpoint, this 15 acres secures this property long-term, provides a constant revenue stream to allow that entire parcel to remain agricultural. You can see at the zoning meeting, there was a lot of commercial pressure on us on that piece of property. There's a little cemetery at the very front end of that property, which our neighbor friends and us have maintained for 185 years. And it has 7 generations of my family buried in it. The last thing my parents said to me is this farm is not for sale. And we made it very clear in the zoning meeting that this land is not for sale. We're not interested in commercial development, and this solar farm opportunity made sense to our family because it allows for pollinators to be where the solar panels are and allows a steady income to not put my children under pressure that they have to commercially develop that property. So from a practical farmer standpoint, the win for me was when my kids stood up at the zoning board meeting and said it won't be sold. The purpose of the solar farm is just to provide a steady income on a small portion of the property.
Okay, does anyone else have questions? Mr. Walker?
Thank you, Chairman. So I guess as a kind of a follow-up to that, previous question there, was there something that made you decide to do this on the Boone County side versus the Winnebago County side, or is that more of a question for the applicant?
Yeah, we left that to reactivate. And I'll back that up a step. I've probably had 100 solar companies solicit me over the last decade. Anybody that's a farmer has had that because there's so much electrical infrastructure around this farm. There's high tension towers on both sides of it, on the south side and on the west side. We've always had those pressures put on us. So I had the luxury of looking at a lot of solar companies. What we found with Reactivate was we shared common values on long-term management of land. I believe, and I'll let Gabe speak to that, but I believe that they ended up choosing Boone County because it fit better within their business model.
Yeah, there were some factors of buildability, and that was the perfect location for the project to be built on.
So it was better suited for you to build the panels, is that what you're saying?
To be, yes.
And the only reason what's behind the question was you chose to be next to residents versus being on the west side where you might not have had the residential pressure. There's no houses on the west side, correct?
No.
Yeah, I think at the time, and I'll speak for Gabe a little bit on it, Winnebago County has its own, everybody has kind of worked through their path on how they're managing the solar farms. And at the time they were putting in the application, they found a more receptive environment in Boone County than they did in Winnebago County, just being straight up. The thing that one of the things that has made this property viable for a solar farm is it has a relatively low soil agricultural score. It's a 78 versus, good farms are 85, 90, 95. And a lot of that has to do with there's a lot of rocks in the soil there. There's a gravel pit on the north side that's been fully developed that will never be farmland again. The housing developments that are around it will never be farmland again. And so as farmers, we had to find a way of preserving that land as farmland in a way that fit within our agricultural context. And from our standpoint, putting the solar farm back where the utility lines are made sense. And, we want to have as minimal impact on the community as possible. The road aspect was something that kind of snuck up on us. We just we had agreed to a access road easement and it turned into something else and it's gone back to what the original vision was through the zoning board of appeals meeting.
Okay, well, thank you for your response to that. I'll take that as a compliment to Boone County, as we have nice people here.
That is the question.
Further questions for the applicant or for the landowner? For the applicant, I guess. So you mentioned that the Boone County side just made it more favorable to put it there. Is that strictly because the interconnection would be easier and shorter and less more cost effective? Or is the terrain in some way different or?
Yes, the point of interconnection is directly north of where the site is. So you could barely make it out there at the end, across the street of the driveway where the access road point is. Yeah, right there. That's where the point of interconnection is. Plus the access road, as you can see there's like a riverine and there was trees there that make the access road point best suited for that location. Oh, yeah, it's very flat in that area back there. And that's why it's kind of back in. Again, going to the buildability.
Yeah, the Winnebago County side slopes the wrong direction. It slopes to the north and the Boone County track there is flat. And so that was, I think, why their engineers first picked that site.
So the solar panels don't work when it's on a hill?
No, no, but there are factors to consider favorability of the location.
Sure. I was going to say, because we have a land that has lots of them on it. And
yes, we do
land hills. So, okay. Does anybody have anything further for the applicant or the landowner? Okay, in that case, Mr. Crone, could we pick your brain a little bit on this access road and those kinds of things? Mr. Wahlberg, I'll let you kind of lead that part of it if you'd like. If you got a question, or do you have a question or?
Yeah, no, I just would like to hear from Mr. Crone, give
Okay.
his input. I know he spent a lot of time on this.
Sure. Yeah, I can give a little bit of basis, clear up some things. So, I'm Justin Crone, the county engineer. I provide technical support to all of the townships, including Belvedere Township, which is the jurisdictional agency for essentially all the roads you see on that map up there, except for Highway 20, which is a state route. So one of the comments that I've got multiple different tasks to achieve within various different townships. One of the tasks within Belvedere Township is certainly Shaw Road. We've had different accidents and different issues on Shaw Road. Another one is the access to the residential development in Winnebago County that is required to go through Boone County residential streets. As was stated earlier, there's, with higher volumes of traffic, it does pose a safety concern. So we would like to try to get those areas to not utilize the existing roads to the east in Boone County, rather access the arterial roads and keep them off the local roads. On the very initial stages of this project, when it was proposed to me or came to me for review, the very first thing was, oh, wow, this landowner wants to change from traditional agriculture to a special use solar farm. And so when the developer came to us, that was our first comment is, okay, well, this gives us the opportunity to make the connections that have been planned for quite some time. So when I say they were planned, the state of Illinois, IDOT has a IDOT access plan that I believe was in the 90s that was developed, and various agencies in both Winnebago and Boone County have agreed to this access plan. This access plan identifies only one US 20 access point between Shaw Road and the Winnebago County line. And that happens to be at the north frontage of this property that we're discussing. And so having that information, we requested that the applicant utilize that access and make that connection. And that connection would be to other planned access points that were developed when the residential, you see on the map there, those residential lots, when those are developed, there are some right-of-way terminations that go to the boundary of this property. There's one on the east boundary, there's one on the south boundary, and then there's a potential planned one on the Winnebago side. So our request to the applicant, and again, this didn't sneak up on anybody. This was very my first response because I had known about this concern, traffic flow concern, quite some time ago. It was multiple years at the before this applicant came to us to try to alleviate and get some of the traffic off of their residential local roads and get them to the arterial collectors such as 20 and so on. So when this applicant came to us, we asked the applicant to make the connection on the east, the west, and the south, and the north. And we didn't lay out how that would be done. When the layout came to us, I was displeased with the location. It was originally 10 feet off of the east property boundary. That doesn't make any sense from a lot of perspectives, and that wouldn't be desirable, and that wouldn't be consistent with the adjacent residential development. When the residential development happened adjacent to this, you have typically 1 acre lots. The spacing is usually 200-300 feet between the roadways, and obviously, if you put something in somebody's backyard, that's not a positive thing for the existing residents, and I would agree with that. We did not make that determination. The applicant did that. We did ask that they make those connections to those existing planned points to try to alleviate the traffic. So I'll back up to, I guess, is one of the, I don't have the date of the incident, but there was an incident that occurred on one of the primary routes south of this project, that there's only one way in, one way out. That incident held up a emergency vehicle, and the township commissioner, he's also a emergency responder, had told me about that story, and that was the basis of him coming to me and trying to fix this problem. So it's kind of a history and the basis of the highway department's request. That is also consistent with Belvidere Township road commissioner. So one thing that was brought up in ZBA, and I apologize, I missed part of the ZBA meeting. I was called out of the meeting for a brief period. But one discussion that I overheard and heard a little bit tonight was about a access easement. Up to this point, we've been talking about right-of-ways, but access easement, and I wasn't real sure. It sounds like it's going to be turned over to Boone County. Certainly can't be turned over to the Boone County Highway Department. We, by statute, we can only start and terminate right-of-way or easements at state routes or municipalities. So, I'm real unsure about the easement language that came out of ZBA. So, that's certainly something that probably should be cleared up at some point. But so that's the basis of the request. I am, it came from me. That's my job, is to try to provide continuity. This is not a traffic generator, so it won't produce additional traffic. It would certainly impact traffic. It would change traffic. When you put a new route on, some people will change their traffic patterns. But this in and of itself it wouldn't be a through arterial road or it wouldn't be anything like that, but it would certainly change traffic patterns. And again, I just want to highlight the the proposed route that was placed along the east boundary is certainly not something that the highway department would support.
Mr. Walker?
Justin, so thank you for that information. I think that's pretty valuable for everybody to kind of understand that. And I if there's at this time.
Sure.
I guess I would be in favor of adopting the staff's draft of conditions. And my reason for doing that is because each one of you received these three factors on your desk here tonight. And this kind of goes back into if this property was to be developed for residential or anything, they would need roads. And so therefore the developer would be responsible for those roads, or we would, have some type of a ownership in that. But yet, as you heard from our highway engineer, the township obviously has jurisdiction over these roads in this area. But I've heard all of the public comments tonight. I've received several calls myself, and very empathetic to that to not have that north-south road in there. And so I think you'll be very happy when you see these staff conditions that were drafted. And I can read those if you would like, but there is three of them, and I believe they are on board docs. You want me to go through that?
You can if you'd like.
They're not on board.
We're not on board docs, so you could.
I misspoke. I'm sorry.
They're just on the desk, so.
Okay, so you can go ahead and read them.
So by doing that, this would replace the staff draft condition 1, which is in regards to the roads. Special use approval is subject to a $500,000 cash contribution to the Belvedere Township to establish SUP 08 2025 Solar Public Improvement Fund prior to building permit. Okay. The intent of the fund is for public improvement within the agreed upon plat and future of right of way. Number 2, special use approval is subject to preliminary and final plat of the entire parcel prior to building permit, including but not limited to the dedicated right of way per the exhibit label A, which is a map that we had on here that we can get that shared here later. So A, with a minimum width of 66 feet, offset on the south property line between 215 and 435 feet. Number 3 is, and then this kind of addresses the north-south for the future, but I think, just hear me out on this. The special use approval is subject to the replat at the time of decommissioning and dedication of the exhibit labeled B, which is the north-south, with the minimum of width of 66 feet, offset from the east property line between 215 and 435 feet. So what that does is it kind of just, it gives us that opportunity in the future. Should this, again, we could be talking minimum of 20 years, 30 years, 40 years down the road, but should that property develop to the west, should Winnebago County, you just don't want to limit your future because we didn't think big enough for any farm, I think.
Thank you. Oh, it's on board docs now. Can we?
I think she was putting the map up there so you could see
Right, so
exhibit B.
Might have to refresh it.
refresh.
Okay.
That to the right. There we go. I don't know if everybody in the audience can see that, but this this here with B, that's the red line with B, would be what Mr. Wahlberg's proposing would be after decommissioning, that would be an easement, right, dedicated, or just an
Right
easement.
away.
A right of way, I'm sorry, a right of way that would be dedicated, in case this ever developed in the future. A would be a right of way, right of way for
Going west.
when it first is permitted. And this is what the money would be dedicated to help do, correct? That and even B, I'm assuming. Okay.
Red line going into the subdivision.
So that would be, after decommissioning, that would be all dedicated right away.
40 years from now.
Yeah, 40, 50 years, whenever they decide that they
Whenever
would,
they take it down.
they would decommission.
Now, and then it would happen 40 years from now.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear
A
that.
would happen now so that they could get to the solar farm, and B would happen after they're taking it down.
Yes, I mean, Mr. Crone, is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, so A, the green line would be give them their access to the solar farm and then also plan for future potential growth or whatever. I'm sorry, Ms. Roberts?
Just for clarification, Justin, the access to the solar project will still be from US Route 20, not through the residential, correct?
Yeah, I have no control of that. IDOT would have to approve what the applicant
That would be
proposes.
what we would support, right?
Yeah, I would say that we would try to make the solar access point line up with the alignment, and wherever that ends up, we'd be willing to work with them on that. But yeah, ultimately, they're going to have to accommodate the 1993 US 20 access plan and make that work. The 3 access points, actually 4 access points that I had spoke to earlier are the gray dots on that sheet around the perimeter of that property. Those are planned access points. The pink line below represents all the homes and all of the properties that only have one access point where that star's at. So if anything occurs from that star back, there's only one way in, one way out. And those access points with the gray dots, those are future planned access points when that residential subdivision was proposed and approved to be future routes and provide that continuity. So we're at that point now where an applicant or the landowner comes to us and proposes a change in land use. So this is the appropriate time to fulfill those past obligations of connections.
Okay. Then just for clarification also, this line here that you see, that's the Winnebago Boone County line. So anything to the left or the west of that, we have no control over. So that's why you see that green line stop there at that point, so to speak. Mr. Riley, you had a question?
Yeah, on these new conditions that are put forward here, is the township on a buy-in to this? Has anybody talked to the township yet about this? Who's paying the 500,000? The developer or the solar company?
Sure. Mr. Crone, you have.
Sure. Yeah. So when we initially talked to the developer, we asked them, and it was my understanding that they were agreeable to that. I don't know if anything's changed or not since that time. But yes, we were asking them to put that $500,000 into an account held by the township as it'll be their future. And the township is aware of this. They are on board with this. The township road commissioner is on board with this, and he has been present at those meetings in discussion with the developer on this project.
Okay, good. I didn't see anybody from the township at the ZBA meeting, so if you've ever gone to one of their meetings, they don't usually last more than 15 minutes. So I just wanted to make sure that they're on board with it, and they will establish this SUP 8-2025. I mean, we have no way of, any recourse if they don't? Or maybe it's a moot point. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking outside the box here, Justin.
So generally you have the township and you have the road district.
Yeah.
The elected official of the road district, which is the township road commissioner, Mike Dixon, he was involved in this the whole time. And I'm not sure if he brought it over to the township side or not. I do know that he does have the authority to make those decisions, and he has been brought in and involved in it the whole time.
All right, good. All right, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Crone? Justin, I'm assuming that road A, that easement wouldn't necessarily be built right away, or would it, or it would just be there so that if the other parts of the property developed, it could be done?
Yeah, our request with A would be that right of way is provided at the time of the building permit application. The actual road construction would not occur. None of these road constructions would occur until A would not occur until there is continuity at that county line. At that time is when that would occur, when A would occur for construction. We would have that right of way platted at the time of our request anyway, is to have that right of way platted at the time of building, at the time of the building permit. B, that would, our request that right of way be platted at the time of the decommissioning. And then at that time, that presumably if there is, if it's decommissioned, presumably that would give us the opportunity to build it at that time after decommissioning.
Okay.
Like you say, 20, 30, 40 years out.
Okay, so just for ease of simplification and clarification, on A, that would just be a dedicated easement or a right of way. I'm sorry, I'm getting my terms mixed up here. So a dedicated right of way. And until Winnebago did something or they decided to develop that other Winnebago County side of this whole property, and Winnebago brought a road in, A really probably isn't going to happen. B wouldn't happen until the solar farm left. And you would like the access to the solar farm to actually come off route or off not bypass, business 20 in the location where B would eventually be.
That's absolutely correct. Yes.
Okay. Mr.
Putting
Thornberry.
an easement in on B, and then at the time that this construction is happening, once the construction is finished, say 2 years from now, how are they gonna get out there to do work on their solar farm if the A is not completed? How do they get back and forth out to the solar farm from Highway 20?
Sure.
So they own the whole property. The only thing that has right of way at the time of construction would be A. B, there's no activity on B at all until after decommissioning. So after decommissioning occurs, then.
Just that was gonna be the easement.
So.
Construction from 20, right?
So.
In a different location where they're gonna access the construction site.
So
B.
So B is not public right of way. B would be potentially, it's up to the applicant, B would potentially be the route to the construction site, a private driveway, whatever they need to get to access the location. It's really not a lot different than what they have proposed currently. The only difference is that B in the future during decommissioning, that construction entrance access point would be reverted to a right of way at decommissioning.
But it'll be there. It's a dirt road. I grew up in Boone County. I go on a lot of dirt roads. It's a dirt road out to the solar farm.
I think that's what they have proposed on all the different options. That's correct. The applicant, on every option that we've seen, that's the option. That I don't know about a dirt. I would have to refer that to the applicant, but I believe that
Using it as an example, it's just, that's how they're gonna get out there to build their solar farm. They're gonna have a backdoor access to the subdivision and out to the area with the solar farm.
That's correct. That's on all the options. That is what they propose pretty consistently.
And I don't want to disagree with you, but I just feel like that is attractive, that is open to the public, which again, I'm born and raised in Boone County. I've driven on a lot of dirt roads. I mean, if I want to bypass a stoplight, because I'm in a hurry to get to work, one way or the other, and then maps and apps and stuff on that.
It's not open.
I think you're misunderstanding. So that.
It's not open.
Yeah.
That B portion that was up there, that would not be a permanent road that would be there. It would be just strictly an access to get to their solar farm. It wouldn't go anywhere else. So they could drive, somebody could drive down that road if they wanted to go visit the solar farm.
Okay, so that.
It wouldn't connect to any of the,
Drawing has a connection to the cell.
no, that's after decommissioning. After decommissioning, and that's only after decommissioning if that property were to develop.
There'll be no paving, there'll be no plows out, there'll be no.
Not until after decommissioning, which could be, I don't know how long the original lease is, probably 20 or 30 years. And then there's,
It's private property, so I think.
yeah, that's up to the applicant and up to the landowner if they put a gate on it. So it's not, it would not be any kind of public access necessarily. And it would not connect to the subdivision. The only potential connection to the subdivision during the solar farm would be if Winnebago, if the owner of the land decided to develop the Winnebago side, Winnebago ran that road across on the bottom where A was.
Yeah.
And then Boone County developed the A portion. That would be the only connection into the subdivision at this point until the solar farm goes away.
This is different than what they proposed last week, so this was the change.
Yes, this is a change. This is a change, yes. It's to eliminate those traffic concerns within the subdivision. I do want to just let people know, this is not a typical committee meeting, but due to what this is, we do have the ability to relax rules a little bit here in a committee meeting. So I'll take a question from you, ma'am.
Just to put it in layman's terms, is it safe to say at this point, nothing's gonna go through Knoll Road, Willow Road, Edgewood Road, Virginia Road? That's all been taken off the plans. Okay.
So, yeah, I think to best answer that question, 100% of this control, it sounds like the applicant wants to not develop this land. This is in his, outside of solar. So if this land is maintained solar and his adjacent owned property maintains farm, you won't see any changes to anything. The only way that you'll see a change is if the solar is decommissioned or if his adjacent property to the Winnebago County side is developed. Otherwise, there will be no change in access. We want to protect future access as was done at my predecessor when, maybe even two predecessors ago, when those subdivisions were developed, they protected future access points. It's my obligation to do the same for the future. If things are developed, if they're never developed, there's no change.
Okay.
So it's safe to say, as of tonight, this is off the table. Or do we still have to?
The road
keep
is
it?
gone, it's done, it's not gonna happen.
As far as the road, well, I would remind everybody, this is a committee meeting. Final board meeting is in 2 weeks. Things can change, but we don't even know if this is going to get approved the way this is right now from the board. But even if the board were to say, no, we don't like that idea tonight, in 2 weeks, we could change our minds. So there's a lot of information to go through yet. The applicant would like to say something, please come on up.
Thank you. There was a comment of those three.
Please make sure you speak really into that microphone.
Okay. Those three line items, I believe that you mentioned about changes from last week to now. One of them included a fund, and a $500,000 figure was thrown out there. I just kind of want to lay out some of the facts here. The landowner is not going to develop that land ever. That's what he's stated. But there's a very low likelihood of any road ever being built there. Usually, my understanding is general practice when commercial development comes along, residential or business, I believe the roads are being built and they fund those roads, like
Developer.
Yeah, the developers.
Yes.
Okay. So seems a little bit onerous to expect reactivate to cough up $500,000 for a road that's never going to be built. That's just what I'm seeing here, in my humble opinion.
Mr. Wahlberg, you have something?
Well, I think that may be a valid point, but you did have conversations previously.
There were.
County engineer and the
Yes.
Governor Township Commissioner.
Yes.
And that number was
It
adjusted,
was,
correct?
yes.
And make that up.
Well, you did not. No, that was part of the conversation, but I just, because the conversation is evolving here and, I can't really speak that we could approve something like that, at this point. It's something.
Sure.
Mr. Crone, you have something?
Yeah, I do. And I agree with what was said that, perhaps that with things changing and I do apologize to developer and the landowner. This all came about based on the changes that occurred at ZBA. So this all developed very quickly and last minute in response to the changing situation. So, I would agree that perhaps maybe we could go back and reevaluate based on the new conditions and come up with something different. I wouldn't have a problem with that. So something that would be accommodable for everybody.
Okay.
And we are okay with the donation of this easement and right of way. So that's going to take up resources to do that. And we can help facilitate that and we'll bear those costs.
And I would remind the applicant that the previous statement would apply to the easements as well, as we discussed. So if it's not developed, those easements don't occur, then therefore there's no cost. So, that's something we should keep in mind as well.
Sure. I think, when in regards to the landowner saying that this property is never going to develop, I can appreciate that sentiment and that statement, and I'm sure he truly believes that in today. 40 years is a long time for that solar farm to be there. Forever is even longer. So a lot of things change. So you just never know what the future holds for that property when we get 40, 50, 60, 80 years down the road. So I don't like definitive statements, so to speak. So Mr. Thornberry?
I'd like to commend the ZBA and the applicant both. Because when the people talked at the ZBA meeting and the applicant agreed to work with them, the ZBA listened. They heard what the people said. That's why this thing passed. Because they said they don't want a road. He said, I didn't originally plan the road. Boone County's the one that forced it. So ZBA said, well, in that case, the people don't want the road and you're willing to drop it to an access road, we're gonna pass it. And I agree with him.
Okay. Any other comments from the board? Okay, I don't see any here at the moment. Mr. Wahlberg, did you want to make that as a motion?
Mr. Crone had something.
I was just going to say something in response to Mary, and I don't disagree with that. And I think that this discussion here is consistent with the ZBA because the only thing we're doing tonight is just providing assurance to the other members of the county that if the owner changes his mind, now we have a way to accommodate those changes. If he doesn't develop it, there's never going to be a change. So I think, I think the residents, not only the local residents in that area won, but also Boone County residents won because we have assurance that if there's a change in heart from the owner and things do change, and we have a way to accommodate those changes.
Okay, Mr. Wahlberg.
Thank you, Chairman. And I realize, this is just a proposal that I threw out. I can appreciate your comments, the applicant here and Mr. Crone. We've got 2 weeks for the board meeting, obviously. Let's figure it out. What's an acceptable number? I'm not pinned on this one. Like I said, I didn't pull this out of the air. It was a number that I was given from the conversation that took place. and maybe there's another acceptable number that we could work with and manage through this a little bit. But I do feel like it's important, as we've discussed, to maintain this ability for the future. Because like we said, we don't have any jurisdiction over Winnebago County. We can't control, and should that develop to the west, probably the A is a critical point that in the map of to accommodate for that. So thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Walber, did you want to make those into a motion?
I would, Chairman.
Okay. So is your motion to adopt the staff draft conditions 1, 2, and 3 regarding the right-of-way and easement road?
Yes.
Okay, so that's a motion by Mr. Wahlberg. Is there a second? By Mr. Cordray? Thank you. Discussion on that.
Well, yeah.
Riley, go ahead.
Ms. Patterson and I were just talking. This is a staff draft condition. So if the staff had the number of 500,000, I understand that it was for the road, but it says here, intent of the fund is for public improvements within the agreed upon plat for the right of way. So what, I guess maybe I'm confused on what right of way means. Does that mean an access road or a road?
So the right of way is, can we get that?
500,000 didn't come up.
Back up there.
I understand what you're saying, Tom, but I'm just trying to figure out what was discussed at that time. Was it a road or was it a right of way to have an access road?
This would be a right of way
Yeah.
immediately,
Okay,
and this would be potential future right of way should that go away. So that would be development of these right of ways.
Right.
That's what that would be for. That's.
I guess how did the number come up?
Where'd the
number come from?
That was in discussions with Mr.
Now it's changed.
Do you want to?
Because we're not putting in a road or because we're just doing a right of way?
Correct. That's why we could go over.
Yeah, and I understand where you're coming from. That makes sense. So the number originally came from a calculation based on road construction, just looking at earthwork and stone and paving and drainage culvert costs. So it was actually calculated out. I want to say it was a little more than that, but and actually I vetted that through CES Consulting, and they agreed that it's probably doable, but it should be maybe a little more. And your second question with that would be, with things changing, what do we do? And I think that's when we discussed perhaps maybe there's a net present value we could come up with based on, a future cost or, some type of way that we can still protect the county if the things do develop and we have a means to address that without burdening the township or the county.
Okay. I feel like I'm beating it to death. I just want to make sure I got it right.
Ms. Patterson.
So if this fund is established, what is to keep people from spending that money before the 40 years is up?
I promise I'll keep it in the back pocket. No.
It won't be us, it'll be the township.
I think that would be a legal binding situation where we'd have to obviously it's going to have to be a special fund, and we'd have to probably talk to Kurt maybe and put it in something, especially knowing that it's going to be 40 years out. We'd want to have it something that grows equal to inflation or greater, so that we're not losing the buying power of that if it does get developed.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Wiltsey.
Well, it just seems to me that this point is too speculative yet. This is just something that just happened. We were talking about tonight how it might change. I don't know if I want to adopt these right now and then have to undo them in 2 years. If there's going to be some discussion about this $500,000, maybe that ought to happen without having an uphill road against a condition that's been adopted. Particularly like, so what in decommissioning time, and nothing's ever done with this, does it get refunded to the developer? I mean, it just seems like there's too many loose ends right now, and we might have more information by 2 weeks from now.
That's, I guess, the way I look at that is that can always be amended in 2 weeks. Then that number, that $500,000 number can be amended in 2 weeks to $10 if that's what they come up with. I don't think it would be that, but Ms. Patterson?
But I also think that there needs to be something in there about the security of those funds. And I also agree, like, if in 40 years we decommission this and nothing is going to happen, then does the company get the money back? Like, what happens to that money? Like, I just don't, we're forward thinking, which I appreciate, but we're like stopping at a certain point where I think that we need to continue to forward think about the whole picture of what's going to happen here.
I think even the applicant himself said that, that way his kids could decide what to do with it in 40 years, that particular land or even 50 years or 60 years. So I hate to necessarily put a time limit on, well, that money's got to be spent or that road's got to be built by a certain time. So I see what you're saying. But Mr. Thornberry?
Everybody's worried about this money. There is no reason why you can't do it like we did with the wind farms back in 2012. You put it in your decommissioning plan with a guaranteed fund where it goes into a protected fund where it can't be spent by anybody until the recommendations and specifications are met. I mean, we did it with the wind farms back in 2012. You can do it with anything. You can make it part of your decommissioning plan with a guaranteed. It's like a financial responsibility. You either have insurance or you have to have X number of dollars in the bank.
Could ask the state's attorney a question here. Tricia, not to put you on the spot.
Yeah, I was just going to mention, so I reviewed the decommissioning plans and those are kind of are separate. And I'd like to keep this separate just for the fact that, those, and perhaps maybe it is a same method, but a separate account. But the decommissioning plans are, they can be bonded, where we're asking for a cash escrow. So a decommissioning plan is more of an insurance for if they don't do their obligation. This is more of this is your obligation as a developer to pay for future improvements when they occur. So, and I think the big question is, what if they never occur? And that's something we'll have to decide, I think, offline and figure out what to do in those to accommodate for that condition.
Ms. Smith, can I ask you a question? Okay. To try and alleviate some of the concern about this potential fund, is there language or something that we can put into that that would say, look, this money can only be utilized for this specific purpose?
Well, I think if it's adopted and it's put in trust.
To use your microphone a little better.
If it's a condition and it's put in place by the developer for that particular purpose, it cannot be used for any other purpose. To do so would be some sort of fraud, criminal activity. So, but I do appreciate the fact that we should probably address what would happen if at the time of decommissioning, there is no development there and because we also don't want to have the fund in perpetuity, because sometime down the line, 40 years from now, people are going to say, what is this fund? Why do we have it? For example, Maple Crest, some of the things we have out there. So yes, we don't want to cause a problem in the future. So I think that could be something that could be addressed. That doesn't mean that you can't adopt the conditions now. You don't also have to either. I don't think it prevents, because at any time up until the passage, you can amend the conditions as long as it's based on the evidence that was presented at the ZBA.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I
I need you to come over here. You have to be able to record it.
Sure, I understand. I'd just like to reiterate, if you establish the right of way or easement, whatever vehicle you wish to use, that would secure that portion of land for a real estate or commercial developer to then build the road, along with the commercial property or real estate they're going to be building. So, I would propose just stopping there, where we get the right of way or the easement
you have that secured now, and then you'll be able to use that with any developer who plans on if there's any commercial development in the future.
Carl?
And yeah, I did follow that. I have an alternate proposal. The alternate proposal is, and as I was thinking this through, and I think Lisa's question was digging in my mind, I think the answer is pretty simple. That if this, let's say this solar project passes and it's built 40 years from now, if it's decommissioned properly and truly turned back into farmland, then we're basically starting back to where we were a month ago. And at that point, that body will then decide how to move forward, and they could move forward with the same type of thing. And they have that ability because they would need to go through the same process again. So I think, yeah, that would make sense that at the end, if this is truly turned back to farmland, then the proper person gets refunded the full amount.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Mr. Thornberry?
Mr. Crone's suggestion is a good one. I suggest if we do take the money, put it into an interest drawing account. That way, when it comes time to either use it or lose it, there's no problem. You just draw it out of the bank and give it back to him. It's not coming out of our pocket. It's his money.
Yeah. Mr. Regano, did you have something?
No, Dave did.
I'm sorry, Mr. Wiltsey.
What might happen is that the right of way gets vacated after 40 years if it's not going to be built. But we do have to understand what's going to happen if there's that kind of money. I would hope that $500,000 has got some value 40 years from now, that whatever interest is accrued maybe goes back to the developer and it just stays at that flat thing. I don't know. There's some questions here.
Sure. Okay, Mr. Wahlberg.
Yeah, I think I'm quite certain that number, based on listening to Mr. Crone here and the developer, that will be less than that, if that's fair to say. But I think that's for you guys to figure that out and bring that back to us in 2 weeks. But I'd like to see us move forward with this type of adoption tonight, so we've got some structure and framework to save us time in 2 weeks.
Okay. Anything further? Okay. The motion on the floor is to adopt the staff draft conditions 1, 2, and 3 regarding the right-of-way and road access for the development. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Next. Anything further or any further comments on the project as amended here with the condition? Yes.
Oh, are you going to now vote on adopting all the findings and conditions? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
With the remainder of.
Yeah. Yes. This amendment. Yes. Okay. Any further questions on any of that? So the next vote will be to adopt the findings of fact as presented with this addition or amendment to those. All in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carries. Anything finally on the project as a whole with the adopted findings of fact and amendments? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
That motion carries. Thank you very much, everyone, for your time and everything tonight. I will let people in the audience again know that come board meeting in 2 weeks, we won't be able to have this interaction like this. It'll be the board talking with the applicant, the landowner, and any staff that we need to. You are certainly welcome to come express your sentiments and public comment. You'll have 3 minutes that you can say what you'd like to the board, and we can go from there. But I appreciate your time. Thanks for hanging in there with us. Difficult subject, and we're trying to do the right thing for y'all.
When does that meeting happen?
That meeting will be in 2 weeks,
September 18th.
the 18th at 6:30 p.m. in this room. So
Thank you very much for your understanding and flexibility. Thank you, really appreciate it.
thank you.
You're all board, we really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, anything intergovernmental? Let's give him here a second to clear out. Just for the board too, I just want to thank the board for being thoughtful on this, talking and having a good discussion. I think it was good. We went through it and tried to vet it as best we could. All right, intergovernmental landfill, anything, Becky?
I just copied you on an email from Cullen Brown. He's our project manager for the land.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I could, we still have a meeting going on here. We'd love to sit and chat with you all, but Mr. Wahlberg's hungry. All right, Becky, go ahead.
I just copied you on an email that kind of recapped the meeting that we had with the IEPA regarding the landfill. Brownfield was able to we had about 45 minutes with the IEPA the week before. I can't remember. I learned together, but they were very receptive. We feel that Brownfield's really trying to move us in the right direction and help us close this out and help us save money. So we just kind of recapped. They did agree to remove some of the redundant monitoring wells, which would bring us some cost savings of about $5,500 a year. So that's a good thing. And also gave us some direction. There's been situations where we're monitoring the wells, but we're not monitoring the leachate. And wouldn't it make sense to monitor the leachate to see if it's the same thing that's coming out of the well? Because it would determine whether it's just part of the landscape out there or if it's really from the landfill. And they agreed. So some of that made sense. And then apparently the IEPA is also rolling out some new standards, which are probably going to set our bar, that much higher. So we'll see what happens there. But anyway, it was a very successful meeting. And, that's the first time we've been able to have a conversation with the IEPA like that in a long time. So just
Awesome.
up to date.
Awesome. If anybody who's been on this board a long time, Mr. Thornberry will remember this, that landfill is a pain in the behind. It could be a vacuum for money. That's about it. So, all right. Anything else, Becky?
There are raffles.
I didn't see anything to sign. Are they on Ryan's desk?
They are right here.
Okay, so
Casa and River Styx.
yeah, Mr. Riley, if I could get you to also sign these for us, that'd be awesome. Any executive session? I don't see any need.
I know.
Mr. Wiltsey?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Wiltsey, seconded by Mr. Wahlberg. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
13.
Motion carries. We are adjourned at 8:13 PM. Thank you, everyone.